let's just say this is a deal, for instance, and let's just say a seller is looking for $2.5 million. Everything is all equal. You're looking at a deal right now at a 6.8% cap rate day one, pretty high per square foot. Your cash on cash is pretty low. You can see in the future stabilized value is only 2.4, so obviously they want too much money. But one thing that industrial grade investment groups look for is equity multiple. Now, obviously, this is something I pay attention to all the time, but I've been doing it in my head because it's a pretty simple math calculation, which is really on here, how much money I come to the closing, 790 grand, and then how much is of distributions are actually repaid. So it's like, okay, is this 2x, 3x, whatever? Is this 1-to-1, whatever? You get my point. So, but this is going to auto-calculate it for you. I was like, I just realized I never had it on these spreadsheets. I wanted to make sure I added it for you guys. So if you want to make sure your spreadsheet has it, I added it. Also, honest to God, all you're doing, again, this formula is literally, again, just taking the total money out, right? How much money total you're putting into the deal, which, by the way, would be calculating renovation budgets, which obviously nothing here. Like if you hypothetically had to, as an example, let's say we had to invest $250,000 in renovations. Not 2.5 million. Jesus Christ. Hold on. 250 grand. So now, again, my equity multiple goes down because I'm spending more money, right? I'm outlaying more cash and I'm still only having the same return on investment. Now, obviously, we can bring this number down and say we buy it for 1.8 million. All of a sudden, the deal starts, I'm not saying makes sense, but making more sense, right? Because now I'm putting out of pocket 830 grand, my down payment, closing costs, everything else, 580,000 plus 250K in a CapEx budget. And then the deal is going to return $1.25 million over the length of the deal, right? Which means I'm going to get a total equity multiple return on capital from 830 to 125, which is about 1.5 times. So equity multiple, very, very important metric. A lot of investment grade capital groups use equity multiple as something that is of interest to investors to find out. Like, what is the estimated equity multiple on this deal? So keep in mind, obviously, what you're looking for is the highest equity multiple possible, right? Just to give you some reference, most deals on average when they're looking at equity multiples are I'm going to talk about large deals for a second. This does not apply to a tiny little 6,000 square foot industrial building, multifamily. Okay, I'm talking like large investment grade, institutional grade deals, right? I'm talking multiple hundred units. They're looking at like a 1.8 minimum, 1.9 minimum equity multiple, but ideally, you try to shoot for as high as possible, right? If you see a 2 and change, a 3, right? Keep in mind, if you see a 3 equity multiple, I would even tell you, number one, especially for that level of a quality deal, incredibly fucking rare. And honestly, they're probably not being as conservative as they should be. But for smaller deals, you actually might be able to see a large, a decent quality equity multiple. I'm going to try to replicate actually, because I don't see any questions in the chat yet. So I'm actually going to throw in real quick just to give you some reference point. This is a 10 family property that I've owned for a number of years now that I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of the, let's do like 20,000. I think we outlaid for doing, okay. And then we spent about 40,000 here. Okay, that's fine. And then our capital expenditure budget, let's say, was about 200. It sounds about right. Interest rate was, I believe, 4%. Or so. I think it's like 395, whatever. I'm trying to be a little bit conservative here. Amortized loan. Yep, that's all about right. Okay, and then we're going to ignore all this side. Let's go to income real fast. So again, this is a multifamily property, by the way, and I know it says retail and industrial, but I'm going to show you how you can just, make an adjustment. So I'm going to do it down here so I don't screw with anything, but I'm just going to do 0. What I'm going to do is... So my building is like 6,500 feet roughly. And then I'm just going to total it. Okay. So our income when we acquired the building was around 10 grand a month, about 10,000, maybe 11, somewhere in that range. Let's just say 11 grand times 12 is 132,000 divided by 6,500 feet is 20-ish bucks a foot. That's really roughly what we were paying. Okay. So this is a ballpark estimate. Our current income as of right now, which is about 24 months, or a little under 24 months, about 18 months later. We bought it in April 2 years ago. Right now, we're bringing in at $18,200 right now. So $18,200. So we've increased the income of this building by $8,200, which is a 80% increase in income gross. So 18,200 times 12 is 218,400 divided by 6,500 gives me 33.6 is my price per square foot. Price monthly is 18.2. And then again, we're doing that within 18 months, which comes to just under 8 quarters. So let's just say 8 for fun. And we actually can do 2-8 because we're building up to this level of income, and then we can even do 3%, not 33% increases, but 3% increases a year, 5% for vacancy. There we go. Okay. So this is all ballparked. Again, now I have to actually bring this up because I can't even see the bottom. Okay, here we go. Let's go to expenses real quick, just to kind of clean this up. When we acquired it, it was at $14,000. Insurance is like $6,000. Now it's actually $8,000. Just go to $8,000. Okay, water sewer, we pay like $4,800 a month. This is like $1,800. Gas is not much. Let's say $1,200. Landscaping, let's do $3,600 here. Snow removal, let's do $1,800. Marketing for, let's say, for commissions and other things, for leasing and other stuff, right? Like, it really hasn't been much. So let's just say $5,000. Trash removal, that makes sense. Let's do like $3,600. Repairs and maintenance, $6,000. Let's do $12,000 a year. Let's do an $8,000. Okay. Payroll. Well, let's do like $1,200. Admin. 600's fine. Reserves, 1,200, fine. And we actually have a property manager and we pay 6% right now. Okay. My estimated budget, $65,000. We bought this at 135. Okay. We actually bought it for 135. Now, obviously the cap rate was atrocious, but this is actually, very funny enough, exactly where we're at. We're selling it right now. We're about to be in contract for $2.15 million. This is almost an exact situation. Now look, our equity multiple is a 2. The one thing that we also did though was that we did not have to come out of pocket so much on this deal. Let's actually drop this down. I think we maybe like 125. Yeah, because the big thing here is that obviously like we're looking at probably, I mean, this is pretty much where we're at, right? So 135, and we're going to sell for 2.15 million, right? So just about on the nose of exactly where this looks like. But here's actually the crazy thing. We're selling this at before the 3-year mark. So the speed in which the return of capital happens is actually much faster, which means our internal rate of return goes up. However, the equity multiple, this is not accounting for the most recent. So I want to adjust that really quickly. So I'm actually going to drop this down to 6.5 cap to try to incorporate where we're at right now. Yeah, so this is close enough, all right? So this is just give you some reference, right? Like, so we're looking at, because none of this this actually came out of the cash flow of the deal. So we really didn't have to come out of pocket too much. I think about less than, let's put it here. Let's do 100 leveraged, and let's do 25K here. Yeah, so this is going to allow us to use cash flow, because like essentially what we're talking about here is that we're assessing the fact that the building actually paid for it, right? Like, so it was we can actually maybe even calculate it into, so I'm going to take it out of there and I'm just going to add it to an expense. No, actually this is probably the best way to do it. So 120, yeah, that makes sense. So anyways, so 125. So our equity multiple was a 2, but long story short, this is where we're going to be sitting at return-wise on this deal that we bought. We're going to do a 1031 exchange, so we're going to have to, at the end here, we're looking at, let's see what our number is here. Deal cash flowed in totality upon the sale will be $1.175 million. Total distributions will be $938,000. We're going to be collecting a check here. I mean, this is including GP distributions here, so let's see. Yeah, distributions. All right, $938,000. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, we're going to be basically trying to. I mean, obviously, we have probably a little bit of cost. It's also calculating commissions, but I'm not taking a commission on this deal, so this has closing costs at 5%, so it's probably going to be closer to like 3.5. So, long story short, we had about $1 million to do a 1031 exchange with. We had about a 40% considering it was just me and my partner, we had about a 50% internal rate of return because there's no GP, LP, or whatever situation here. Anyways, long story short, very, very lucrative deal. But this just goes to show you, like, look, I mean, we bought this deal and I think our interest rate was probably like 3.75. Not 33. But this gives you some reference, like, even with this deal situation, our debt coverage ratio wasn't spectacular. We bought it at a 4.5 cap conservatively. Long story short, again, we're selling it at a 6.5 cap now. I mean, this is a very good location. We've been able to, increase price per unit. Okay. Because it's on, let's go to income here. Yeah, so this is 10 actually. There you go. It's multiplying it by a lot, but you kind of get my point here. This is just to give you some reference. Like all I have to do is move a decimal point because this is going off of per unit. So you just say 1820. Long story short, this is where we're at. There you go. We're right back to where we were. Again, overall, you can see how like these types of deals, this was a major value add deal. We bought 10 units for 1.35. We were paying 135 a door. We're selling it now stabilized at 216 a door. We invested about 125 during the deal. So, anyways, long story short, very, very lucrative deal. You can kind of see like this is what we look for, right? Like stabilized yield, a 9% rate of return is very, very good. An equity multiple above 2, very, very good. These are types of things like when you're looking to buy your first investment property, a lot of people are saying like, hey, I want to buy my first investment property. These are things you should be paying attention to.